Welcome back to Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover. We're bringing you our NFL Week 11 review. Just me and Joe this week. Byron sadly ruled out inactive this week. Feel better soon, Byron. Get well soon. And hopefully we'll have you back next week. Which me and you, Joe. Joe, how are you doing? How was your Week 11 for what you got to see of it, from what you've just been telling me?
Yeah, it was certainly a fun one. Obviously, before the pod was just saying, got locked out the flat for a couple of hours as our lock broke. We were trying to get in, so managed to catch up on most of the games. But yeah, it was a fun week. Obviously, talked about in the preview some really big games. I think some really big outcomes, and yeah, it's feels like some teams are fading away and some teams are coming. We'll talk about them establishing themselves, but maybe we'll have to call, with Byron, will we saying it's a Keon Coleman kind of benching that he's turning the play too much, but it's a healthy scratch. Well, he's an unhealthy scratch.
He's a very unhealthy scratch at the minute, but yeah. Look, should we just jump straight into it? We're going to bring you our gaming focus, plus kind of our spotlight takeaways, our weekly overreaction, roundup of everything else, our bets, the fourfold, ATS, and of course the winning Fantasy Gameday lineup. But our game of the week, our gaming focus this week that we're going to spend the most time talking about it's the cover man. It's the Buffalo Bills 44, Buccaneers 32. Allen tucks away win with 6 of the best. Reigning MVP reminds us why, as Allen becomes the first player in NFL history with multiple 3 passing touchdowns and 3 rushing touchdown games to out-duel Baker and the battling Bucs. And that's probably the story. So this one, we kind of delivered everything that we were sort of said in the preview that we hoped it would do, in terms of it was just the most fun game I've seen for a little while. They were going back and forth, up and down the field. And yeah, it was just great stuff. And ultimately, the Bills just outlasted the Bucs, really. And yeah, ended up, I think that's the highest production the Bills have had this year, 44 points. And yeah, Tampa were there blow for blow until just kind of the very end, where they just faded away.
Yeah, I think that interception by Mayfield in the third quarter to Bishop, that was big, because like you said, they were leading then. They stopped the Bills to a field goal, so winning by 2 points. And it was it wasn't the greatest throw by Baker. It was fairly he didn't see Bishop, who made a great catch. To be honest, you have to give it to them. And then when they got the touchdown, it felt like they just couldn't. Well, they got a touchdown back to and then the Bills responded, and then so it just felt like they had the momentum then, and then the Bills. I just worry about this Bucs defense. Is at least 2 weeks in a row where you expect big things from this defense with Todd Bowles, with everything he stands for, where they can, but they're just giving up too many big plays. It's not like they're just getting absolutely shredded play after play. It's like they hold him, and then suddenly it's a 20-yard run. It's a huge pass from Josh Allen, and it was same as last week against the Patriots with Henderson, with them two huge runs, and it's hard to just keep up with that. Like I said, I think the Bucs on offense actually they played pretty well. I think Baker's, from how he started the season, he's definitely dropped a level the last few weeks, but he's still, they still managed to score 32 points, mainly because that running game absolutely shredded the Bills, which we going into that's what we expected. Obviously, we gave a big shout out to Sean Tucker, who got 106 rushing yards, and he also got a touchdown receiving as well, 34 yards. So they managed to get 202 yards on the ground. So Baker, he wasn't like fully on Baker, but that interception, it's just that them kind of little mistakes where the Bills, the big game Bills, I think we've got to start calling them, because Josh Allen and the Bills just show up when it's like against what everyone perceives as a contender, a huge game, versus compared to when they play something like the Bills. And so when they play the Dolphins, where you just like to play around with the food and end up losing them kind of games, it feels like they're that kind of team where they're just waiting for the playoffs to get going. But yeah, Josh Allen, again, he was just incredible. He's just waited, like you said, 317 yards, and he still had 2 interceptions. Obviously, that one at the goal line wasn't the ideal start, where he just chest pass. And the Bills managed to keep them out, but the Bills defense is still a big worry, and I still worry about that offense where it feels like it is just Josh Allen. If Josh Allen doesn't go, what else have they got? Because when you're looking at Tyrell Shavers as the leading wide receiver at 90 yards, and James Cook and Ty Johnson, they're still missing that wide receiver. And when your big pick of last week is getting healthy scratch because he can't turn up on time. It's that's the only way when you're looking at them versus like the Patriots, they feel like they're a well-rounded team. This Bills is like, if Allen's having slightly an off game and not playing Superman, then it's like, oh, this could be slight worry.
Yeah, Shavers, McCall Hardman, Gabe Davis, like, yeah, it was kind of just, patching up, and we'll see what happens with Keon Coleman moving forward. But I think some of the other bits that were sort of key in this was around kind of the Bucks kind of got what you wanted in terms of being able to really kind of have a good run at winning this game, in terms of they got the turnovers, they got points off the turnovers, they didn't necessarily fully take advantage and score touchdowns off all three, but they got so the two off Allen, and then the three, and then the third one was the special teams turnover. So you got that. You had obviously got the running game, as you mentioned. Tucker was a beast. 35 minutes time of possession. One probably key thing was every time the Bills returned it from a kickoff, they got over halfway. It felt like, so just the field position, the Bills were just able to get in. Obviously, have a lot of short fields because of the kick. And I don't know why Tampa just didn't kick it through the end zone, because they just kept doing it. And I don't know if it was just the kickoff can't reach, but just beam it through the end zone, because once it was the third or the fourth one, it's just like, what you doing? You're just giving the Bills short field every time. And I also was interested in the decision to punt down one score, whatever it was, 5 points with 7 minutes to go, and you were kind of just close to the halfway. Yeah, it was 32-37. I think the Bucks were at their own like 40, 41. 7 minutes on the clock. You can't stop the Bills. And it was 4th and 2. I think it was 4th and 2. And you don't go for it. I thought that was the moment that it was gone then, because they weren't stopping the Bills. They did, and gave away a stupid penalty, the face mask, and it allowed the Bills then to finish that for a field goal, for a touchdown instead of a field goal. So instead of an 8-point game, it was a 12-point game, and it was gone from there. So I just thought that I just didn't really understand that in that moment, the way the game was going. Why punting it? Like, you've not been able to stop them all day. Outside of the early first quarter, why do you think you're suddenly going to get a stop now? And it sadly wasn't wasn't to be for the Bucks. But I'm not worried about the Bucks. Where they're 6-4, and I know the Panthers are right there with them now, or half a game back. But I thought the Bucks actually showed enough to go, actually, I think the little wobble that they've had, they've got tough games coming, but I'm more than confident them going into that run of division games at the end of the season that they've got, that they'll possibly just run the table there and get to 10, 11 wins, which is going to be enough to win the NFC South. So I thought they showed enough for it not to be worrying for the Bucks.
Yeah, of course. They've got like the Rams Sunday Night Football this weekend. But then, like you said, after that, Cardinals, and then Saints, Falcons, Panthers twice, and Dolphins. Like, they should be favourites in all of them, and probably have to win 4 of them just to get to 10. And you probably won the division just with how the Panthers are so up and down, and the rest of the division are out of contention now. So it's I just really like when the Bucks come into this year, when they had everyone fit, that it was like it could be a Super Bowl team with how they were playing. Like,
especially how they started.
Playing these close games and winning these kind of games, where it feels like that's flipped, and now it's just like, I want to see what they're like when they've got other players back, but it's just who's coming back and how quick. We mentioned Godwin, Bucky Irvin seems like he's coming back soon. Maybe Evans right at the end of the season, but they need them just because how good Ed Booker is. It's very, again, they're one dimension. When you're Sterling Shepard, your leading catcher, it's a bit like, okay, we are struggling because teams can just focus on Ed Booker, and there's no one else to fully take on that role to take over games. But the running game looks amazing. And when you think about Bucky Evans not even in it, it's a nice 3-head monster now.
Tucker was incredible. He broke 2 long ones, and had obviously the receiving touchdown as well. I think he went for 140 yards, 3 touchdowns. Was a great. We all had him in our fantasy game day teams this week because he was so cheap, and it certainly paid off. But just on that note, before we move, obviously Bills 7-3 needed the win for sure off the back of the Patriots going to 9 wins. So they're just, again, a couple of games back, still to play the Patriots and hoping for another slip up to be able to kind of wrestle the division back. But shout out, so we attended a watch party for this game. So shout out the Bucks UK guys. Apology Obviously 0-4, our watch party attendance of the season. I think it's probably going to be the last one of the year, just because nobody will want us to go to others. But the guys were awesome, just to shout out. So they were at the Library Pub in Leeds, about 50, 60 of them in that room. Really, really well attended. Great bunch of people. Special shout out to, I suppose, the guys who obviously jumped on the pod and also were the organisers. So shout out Christy, Kieran, who we got a chance to speak to, Alex and Jamie, and Marianne, the one of the heroes of the day. Had some technical issues, the pub, of getting the game on the screen in the room, and sort of a Game Pass or a Sky Go link or whatever it was to get it up on the screen. And so but just well done, great event, great bunch of people, and it got a great game for it as well, which I think always helps those watch parties. So yeah, if you're interested, go give the Bucks UK guys a follow at Bucks UK across all their media channels. And yeah, if you're Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan and you're not a member of the group, go join it now, because yeah, they've got a lot of great stuff going on. And I appreciate you having us at your do, and hopefully we will be welcome back, even if we're probably the jinx as to why you lost the game. Cool, let's move on then. Our spotlight and takeaways. We'll start with Byron's first. He's not here, but his was one of the other big games of the week that we were looking forward to. Ended up in a bit of a struggle in terms of the game, but it was the Rams Seahawks. Rams 21, Seahawks 19. Ghosts of yesteryear come back to haunt Darnold. 4-interception day for Sam as Shula frazzles him once again. Defenses reign supreme as Rams sneak past Seattle. But was this a statement win or a lucky escape? What are your thoughts, Joe?
Yeah, obviously it was a defensive showdown. I think it was a fun defensive showdown, but we'll probably just quickly mention the game later on, which was a defensive battle, but was a stinker in Texans Titans. This one's actually a really fun one where it was like both teams had worked out how to stop the other team's offenses, which have been like just running over teams, and where the Rams were a lot like bend don't break. The Seahawks got nearly 150 more total yards compared to the Seahawks. It had 26 first downs versus the Rams 12. So when you think of like that, and then the opposite side, the Rams that turned the ball over 4 times and only still just won by 2. That says a lot about the Seahawks defense, who when the game started, it was a bit like touchdown. It was like, oh, is it like I was just hyped up this Seahawks defense a bit too much. But after that, it was punt. So three and out punt, fumble, 5 plays punt, 5 plays punt, touchdown after an interception, and 3 plays in the punt, same again. So other than the touchdowns, and most of them touchdowns came from the interceptions of being so close to the having this great field position. This Seahawks team absolutely dominated the Rams offense, which I don't think no one has. Them playing the 13 personnel with all the tight and the athletic ones, and no one's been able to stop them. You look what they did against the 49ers, where it felt like no one could stop this Rams offense going down, and the Seahawks did that. So I think that's a positive the Seahawks can take from that. We can't play any worse on offense in terms of interceptions, giving the ball away, and we had a chance to win it with a missed field goal at the end. So that's like huge on their defense. We can stop this offense, which was rolling over everyone. But then on the flip side, like what Byron put, I didn't really think about this, but the Rams obviously dominated the Vikings in the playoffs last year with Darnold, and he got frazzled then, and he got frazzled again today. I think the issue the Seahawks have is that running game. Like when you look at some of the stats, it's like, okay, it's not that bad, but I think on the EPA, like they're like the 28th, 27th best running team, and when the Rams are playing the bend don't break, it's like come and beat us running, and when that doesn't happen, it's like it's all on Sam's shoulders, and there just wasn't any of the big plays. There was like 1 or 2 for JSN, the crazy catch on the sideline, the one-handed grab. And but other than that, it was very like short distance. And, Chris, the QB, it was like the old school 49ers offense, where it was just like take what's there and just go down the field. But they just couldn't get them touchdowns. And I think that's just basically what cost them is after the interception of the first drive, they went field goal. 4 field
goals,
yeah. And they were all in like the, towards the red zone, and you just get one of them, it just changes the complex. If you get 2 of them, you've got an extra 12 points and you win this comfortably. So the Rams just did great when they needed to stop them. They did, but I was very impressed with the Seahawks defense, where they like shut down that offense more or less except the touchdown, the first touchdown, and then the rest of the time it was just because Sam Darnold's throwing interceptions in his own half. So I wouldn't say lucky escape. I think both teams showed why they're probably the best two teams in the NFC, and just can't wait for the rematch in Seattle.
Yeah, there's a lot of cancelling each other out. I wonder if this kind of cagey first one and the second one we might see maybe the offenses take over a little bit, but it was just like say a battle. And again, few key players can talk to it, but fair play for Seattle for just sticking in there because, like I said, this could have been with the turnovers. The Rams could have got out of sight and it'd be a drubbing, and maybe like that playoff game was like what happened to Sam Darnold against Detroit in Week 18. Where kind of the teams go out of sight and it becomes a pummeling, but they rallied around him and ultimately gave him a shot to win the game, and they had the shot to win the game, which was obviously it was a very long field goal, wasn't it? Was it 61 to try and win it? I think it was. So a long field goal. Yeah, Jacoby Myers. Sorry, Jacoby. Why did I just call him Jacoby Myers?
No idea. Do you think he's a wide receiver for the
Yeah. No wonder he missed the kick then, yeah.
Yeah.
But Myers from the Seahawks also had the kick 61 yards. But key to this, I think, I wanted to show this actually. I didn't include this. I want to show this clip. I think this might be the punt of the century. I don't think I've seen a better punt, given where they are on the field, given the time of the game. So the Rams obviously have to punt the ball back to the Seahawks. They're punting from what? Just halfway, or just the wrong side of halfway. Ethan Evans, this is an incredible punt. Just watch where this lands.
They drop off. Shaheed watches it bounce inside the 5 and out of bounds inside the 1. Wow. Ethan Evans. There's no way he's ever made a better punt.
And he won't make a better punt ever. It was unreal. I checked up at the 2, bounced at the 1, and yeah, perfect. Like, in terms of, well, you've got to go all that way now. And, the Seahawks did get, but again, if that ends up as a touchback, you're giving the Seahawks at the 20, and they probably end up getting much closer with the field goal attempt, given how they drove down the field. And again, just kind of special teams making special plays that ultimately make a big difference on the outcome. So shout out Ethan Evans. Look, I've got to love giving the specialists a bit of shine. I don't think I will ever see a better punt than that.
And that's saying a lot about the Rams as well, who have been shocking on special teams, especially our kicking game. So I think the only person who stayed was the punter, and that probably makes sense why they kept him compared to the other players on that special team. So yeah, shout out to him. And I think and the Seahawks played it perfectly. Like at the end, getting that touchdown and then getting them to punt after 42 seconds and draining the clock at 1:41 to get that field goal. And 61 is quite, it's a decent distance, but it is in LA. It's not like it's a blusty one and one like that where just give it a chance. But hey ho, I think it's just like we mentioned, the field goals not being touchdowns, and that's the difference. So yeah, can't wait for the next one. See, like you said, is it going to be an opposite where the offense goes off and Buccaneers, he got 75 yards. We obviously had the fumble, and JSN with another 100 yards. It's incredible. And I honestly believe Kenneth Walker, man, if you look at how many yards he runs, not gaining anything, I think he could be like how much he actually runs. Because I'm sure most first down, he's like running everywhere, he's running across the field, bouncing now. He's probably got the most yards in the league. But yeah, they just need to sell that running game out, and they might give the Rams, they might take. But if they beat the Rams, they're both going to be on the same record. So it's not the end of the Seahawks winning that division. But I think looking at all the games now, I think they're clearly might be a bit strong, but I think they are the best two teams, especially in the NFC. And the Rams have got the Bucs, which we mentioned, the Panthers, Cardinals, Lions. And then the Seahawks, while the Seahawks got Titans, Vikings, Falcons, Colts. So, it'll be a huge game in week 16.
Excellent. Couple of bits. This Devontae Adams gets 10th touchdown of the season already. 10 touchdowns through 11 weeks. Unbelievable signing. He scored. It was also his touchdown catch was his 1,000th career reception. So a great one. 10 touchdowns, 1,000 career reception. JSN. breaking records or continuing to collect records. So he became the first player in the Super Bowl era to have 75 plus yards receiving in each of his first 10 games. And he also tied a Seahawks record, Steve Largent's record, with his 7th 100-yard game of the season. So I've no doubt he will get 8, 9, 10, quite a few more before the season is out. Still on pace, I think, for 2K. Which would be an incredible achievement. So, yeah.
There's a few records where it's like, oh, some big records could be going this year.
Yeah, well, kind of think, Cooper Kupp, who's obviously on that team, came close. Calvin Johnson came close. But yeah, I don't know with where he's at so far. So what is he through? He's 1146 through 10 games. He's already surpassed his receiving total yards last season. So he's 1,130 through 17 games last year. He's 1,146 through 10 games this year. So 114 a game gets you. He's just short. So he's on pace for 1948 through 17 games. So I think he can do it. He's playing unbelievably well at the minute. 72 receptions already as well, which is crazy. So you got 100 receptions for his 1,130 yards last year. He's got 1,146 on 72. Shows kind of how he's developed. So Seahawks 47-3, Rams 8-2, and the destiny of the NFC West is in their hands. Let's move on to our next spotlight takeaway game. It's mine. It is speaking of the West, let's go to the AFC West. It's Broncos. Chiefs, Broncos 22, Chiefs 19. Lutz field goal redemption. Let's Broncos bury Chiefs. Wasn't easy to say that one. Broncos make it 8 wins on the bounce with another last gasp finish and give themselves a 4-game lead over KC. Is it crisis time for the Chiefs? You know what? I said there'd be sort of overreaction either way. The Chiefs can just not. We're so used to them coming out of the right side of these one-score games. They just can't seem to win one. I don't know what's happened. These close games, they are just falling the wrong side of them this year. We're so used to seeing them finding ways to win these games and just coming out on top and sneaking a victory. It's just not happening in 2025. I don't know if I'm quite ready to press the panic button on them, but the Chiefs now are very much, can they get the 6th or 7th seed? It's not, the division's gone. They're too far behind now because they've still got a rough run of games to come yet as well, which includes playing the Broncos again. They've got the Colts next week. How many can they afford to drop? 2?
Well, yeah, I'm just looking so obviously the Patriots coming up big is like that. The Bills is probably going to grab one. The Jags winning, obviously the Texans still 5-5. The Ravens are coming back. I think having the Chargers who are sliding now, I think that probably helps them. Just with we'll get to the Chargers.
I think it's 2 from the East. It's at least 2 from the West.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's the Chiefs are going to be scrapping with the Titans. Not with the Titans, it's not got that bad. With the Texans, and Jaguars.
Yeah.
And I want to say Ravens. I think there's only one from the North. It's whoever wins it. I think it's the Steelers or the Ravens. But that's who they're scrapping with to get potentially a 7th spot.
Mm-hmm.
And because those games come after, that's a tiebreaker game with the Texans. That's Chargers potentially tiebreaker game. And then you've got to play the Broncos again as well. And at Cowboys on Thanksgiving isn't necessarily an easy game as well. So, I think maybe they can afford to slip up twice more. But
because you think the Steelers are probably going to get to 9-8. That's just the Steelers, and I still think the Ravens will win that division. So you got to beat 9-8 realistically.
And they're at 5-5 now after 11 weeks, which I didn't think. I was so confident they'd win this game in a close one as well. And the way it was going, I kind of thought, it was going to fall their way. But the Broncos, shout out to them, 9-2. They've just got a knack of winning these games this year. And it's yet another one where they've just kind of, again, just ground it out, just found enough to win. And while not necessarily, he played better, I think, Bo Nix through this one. He was 24-37 for 295. But they just made the key plays at the key times, forced a key turnover from Mahomes. You kind of uncharacteristically threw, obviously, an interception in a key moment. And just the Broncos, then the Chiefs couldn't get off the field, and the Broncos just lined up, kicked the winning field goal.
Yeah, because you look at all like the team stats, it's very like everything's the same, like more or less. Like the time of possession was only a minute apart. The penalties, the Broncos had a hell of a lot more, but everything else is fairly similar. So it is them key moments, and I think I'm starting to worry about like this offense. There's a few players where like Xavier Worthy's like, I was thinking about this today. I was like, is he one of the biggest disappointments this year? I was expecting
He's been missing,
yeah. He's only got 281 yards this year and 1 touchdown. Like with Rice being suspended, I expected him to like be the focal point and like get off hot. And we were talking when he got drafted, we were like, oh, the Bills have let them draft this, this speedster, and he's going to be the big difference. But everything just seems like not quite working when you're still relying on Travis Kelce with 91 yards. Tyreek Thornton the next with 61 yards, but he's just like a big player kind of guy, and it doesn't feel like Rice and Worthy together. What they had 14 targets, but only like 9 catches for like 63 yards. You expect more from this Chiefs. I expected coming into this year that they were going to be a high-powered offense that they changed around, especially when Rice came back, and you thought, okay, this is going to be the new Chiefs, and they're going to run away with it. And coming off a bye, we don't see that. All the stats which they always talk about, Andy Reid off a bye, that got thrown out the window.
2-5 now, yeah.
Yeah, and then when you look, they've got the Colts next, which is obviously a tough game. You mentioned the Cowboys. They got the Texans, which could be, for the who gets in the playoffs, and then the Chargers. That's like 4 tricky games. They've got to at least win. Probably have to go 3-1 in there if they've got if they go 2-2. And you get your Titans, but like the Broncos, they might be thinking we can beat the Chiefs and knock them out of the playoffs.
Knock them out, yeah. They could have that shot.
So they're definitely not going to win the division. I think that's gone now. And then, I still expect them to probably sneak into the playoffs, and we're probably going to be sat here when the Super Bowl. Oh, the Chiefs have done it again. They've gone like 3 road games, and they're in the Super Bowl again. But that offense just doesn't seem like it's clicking whatsoever. The offensive line's not great, and Mahomes is making mistakes as well, which you don't expect. Like when they went in the lead with that touchdown, and then the Broncos punted in 3 and out. Then you thought, okay, the Chiefs have got this. And then even when they punted back and the Broncos got the field goal to make it 19-19, again, with like 4 minutes to go, you're thinking, oh, this is what the Chiefs do. They'll run out the clock and they'll win it from here. We talk about all the time, there's certain quarterbacks, certain teams where when they get the ball like last, you just expect them to win. And they just went, they played 3 players minus 11 yards. It's just not who they are right now. And and give it for Broncos, who last year they were a team who lost a lot of 1 possession games. This year they're winning a lot, and they're just sneaking by. Like you said, I don't think Bo Nix is playing amazingly. I still worry about that when it comes to crunch time if they need him to step up. But that defense is doing what we thought it was coming into this year. And I wonder now with Vance Joseph, this is the 2nd year running. Could he be a head coach candidate just with just what he's done with this defense? Because they've got some big injuries as well who are not playing. The number 1 cornerback in the league, Satan's not playing. Ryler Moss is giving up defensive penalties all the time. But there's just these unknown players who they've just coached up, and they're just a well-rounded, great defense, which is keeping them in the game. And Bo Nix is just doing what he needs to do to win it. So it's impressive.
Well, he's doing what he's doing. He's doing what he needs to do when he needs to do. Because it's in the 4th quarter all the time is when Bo Nix is making his plays and making his big plays. And again, kind of this run. Look, so 1 possession game. So 22-19, 1 possession game, walk-off field goal. 10-7 last week on Thursday Night Football in a rancid game. 18-15 walk-off field goal against the Texans. All right, hammered the Cowboys. 33-32, huge comeback against the Giants. 13-11 in London against the Jets. Again, just found a way to win. 21-17, comeback on the Eagles. That's, all those 1-score games that they're finding a way to win.
That's what's like nuts. Yeah, they were 1 and 2, and like even though with all these wins, they're 9 and 2, but I don't see them as like a powerhouse just because of them comeback. But like the regular season is all about just picking up wins and getting in positions where there's teams not doing that. So
and they're on a bye this week, and then they've got. I assume that Broncos Commanders will get flexed out Sunday Night Football because we don't need to see that. Yeah, a week on Sunday, but I guess that needs to happen now. If it's not, maybe it's too late. I don't know what the cutoff is, but they're just finding ways to win. And shout out Will Lutz as well, who exercised some demons. Obviously, they had a chance to beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead last year with a relatively short field goal, and the Chiefs blocked it to survive and win that game, and obviously nailed it. He was 5 for 5. Will Lutz. So yeah, just kind of get that one done and over with. So yeah, same with the Chiefs O-line worried to 3 sacks, 8 quarterback hits, and they were all over Mahomes at times. He was just constantly harassed and under pressure. Benito didn't get a sack, but he did everything but get a sack. He was unbelievable in terms of how often he was in there and in and around Mahomes. So yeah, Broncos flying 6-0 at home. Chiefs, huge problems. I've got to the Colts beat them next week, and they're a losing record after 12 weeks. And you've got one more chance. You have one more slip up in you. I think they could miss out. It's crazy to say it. I know. I'm just not seeing anything from them at the minute.
I think the only good thing they can say is it doesn't feel like the AFC is as strong as it has been the previous year. Like we talked about, the Texans are right there, and you see Texans one game well, it's a great team, and then they play on Sunday, and you're like, okay, they have to be in the playoffs. I think that's the only positive is that they're the Bengals are not who they are. There's the Chargers are dropping off with their O-line, and the Texans are not who they were, especially on offense, where it's just and on bad news for the Broncos, obviously. Dobbins being out for the year, which is it's a big shame, because obviously coming back on that injury, he felt like he finally was fit and healthy and having a good year, and both teams' running games just weren't really at it today, and now you're relying on RJ Harvey, so you need a big step up from your rookie. And can we just start with these, I know some trick plays, but I don't know if you saw the RJ Harvey pass where it's just that should have been intercepted. Sometimes I think it's just let's not try and be too cute when it's a close game, but they got away with that one. But yes, I think that's a big thing. They need to get that running game going again, because Dobbins was looking good, but obviously it was a big loss for the rest of the year.
Excellent. Joe, let's hit your spotlight and takeaway to finish off this segment.
Yeah, barely in time. Chicago dig deep, dish up another win. Losing barely, winning clearly. Bears move into first place in the NFC North as Santos makes up with a game-winning field goal. Are the Bears a serious contender in the NFC? This was a fun game all around. It was a game where the Bears looked like they were going to throw it away. They were 16-3 up, looking fairly comfortable, and again, giving up a big kick return, and Mason managed to run it in. And then again, Santos misses a fairly... there shouldn't be many misses in Minnesota with a stadium with with a roof and the conditions being perfect. And so that was a big miss. And obviously the Vikings it felt like what happened in the week one, where they didn't play well the first 3 quarters, but then suddenly just, the fourth quarter, I would say came alive. That might be a bit strong, but they managed to take the lead. But the Bears, vice versa there, kickoff return, Duvernay managed to hit a huge one. So I can't say that last week where Caleb put him on his back, he didn't have to do much because of the return. But the Bears are doing what they weren't doing last year. Last year, they felt like they were just throwing away games willy-nilly and losing them in crazy circumstances. This year, we talked about the Broncos coming back. The Bears have done it against the Bengals. They've done it against the Vikings. They did it last week as well. And they're just putting these wins together. It's a whole new Bears team. And now they're 7-3, leading that division. It feels like the Vikings might be done at 4-6. It's a huge worry with JJ McCarthy, where it's such a weird 2 years, where last year no one was expecting anything because of what happened, and they had obviously an amazing season against the playoffs. This year there was a lot of hype. It felt around the Vikings, Kevin O'Connell, having JJ McCarthy back, how he apparently looked in preseason last year, so everyone was getting excited. The quarterback whisperer, and it's just been a big disappointment where the throws are just... I don't even know what to say. I know you've never been a big JJ McCarthy fan, but some of the throws where you're playing in Minnesota under a roof, the Bears didn't really get after him here. I think it was something crazy. He was pressured 26% of the time on his dropbacks. So it wasn't like his offensive line wasn't protecting him today, but some of the throws were just so wild, where they're just not accurate, where they're just nowhere near. The timing's completely off, and it just doesn't look good for the Vikings. And I'm not quite sure where they're going to go from here. They've got star wide receiver Justin Jefferson, clearly not happy with what's going on. The defense did their job against his Bears team, which have been looking good. But, vice versa, the Bears defense has not looked amazing, but they managed to hold the Vikings 17. I think that's really JJ McCarthy. But, you just got to give it up to the Bears, just winning these close games, coming back, and 7-3 and now top of the division. It's you got to give it to them. So Paul, are they serious contenders for the NFC?
I don't know if the serious contenders. I said in the preview, I wasn't sure if they. So I'm fairly confident they are not a bad team anymore, but I don't know if they're a good team, and I don't think this helped me come to an answer on that. But there is, again, the knack with credit teams. You're finding a way to win games, and there is that. And the culture's just completely changed in Chicago. And I thought it might take a little bit longer, but Ben Johnson's done an incredible job. And that culture has changed. And these are the types of games that the Bears lose, and they've lost them for years. And it's just part of Chicago sports culture. But it's all changing. I fully expect them to be in the playoffs. I'd be crazy if they're not at this point. Can they make any noise in there? I don't know. I don't see them as a serious contender. I think they will get knocked down a peg or two in 10 days or so when they play Philadelphia in prime time in front of the whole country on Black Friday. That's the kind of spot where you go, well, okay, if you've improved, let's see if you can perform in this game. Not necessarily win, but compete. That's where I think actually they'll still be a million miles away. And, I want to see him against Detroit again and stuff like that. So, but lots of things to be hopeful for and lots of things to be excited about for the Chicago Bears, I think, ultimately. On the flip side, JJ McCarthy is terrible. I have been saying it for weeks. I thought he was going to be... So I did press my worry when he came in was that he wasn't never asked to do a lot playing for Michigan. Jim Harbaugh, they just very rarely let him throw the ball. I don't think that was necessarily because of his ability. They just wanted to run the ball. That's just the style of team they'd built in Michigan, and they were going to run the ball to that national championship, and that's what they did. Very rarely threw more than 200 yards in a game passing. It was true Big Ten football. That's not a knock on their team. That's just how they were built to win Michigan. And he just managed things. But I don't think you can take a game manager from college and put him in and expect him to run an NFL team. There's game managers in the NFL, but they are much more highly skilled than a game manager at the college level. And I think that's ultimately all JJ McCarthy is and will be. And he's probably not going to be a very good NFL quarterback. I hope I'm wrong because I feel like, he's played 6, 7, 8 games, whatever it is. But I feel like you're just not seeing anything from him, I don't think. I think that's the problem.
I think the worry, like I mentioned, there wasn't much pressure today, and it felt like everything was set up to have a good game. And even like certain backups where, talk just like about Mac Jones, for example, when Shanahan puts him in position, he hits players and he gets yards. And Kevin O'Connell is on Shanahan's level in terms of scheming things open. And it felt like he had everything he could have today, and against the Bears secondary, who are missing a lot of players. And you just worry, like, even like quote unquote bad players can hit players when they have time. We look, we see what like James Winston did. We do a lot of players. Yeah, they make mistakes on the way, but they can, if they've got a clean pocket, everything's fine. They can hit players, but McCarthy's not even doing that, and I think that's the biggest worry there. It's not like the offensive line is crumbling, it's getting pressured. It's not like it is in like Cleveland, for example, where it feels like no one can do much. Today was like a perfect conditions for a quarterback to just keep hitting players. And like some of the throws, like said, it's like on the sideline, and it's like 10 yards above the wide receiver's head. And I don't know if you saw the press conference. He was like saying, "Yeah, I need to change things." And the first question from the reporter was like, "So why is the accuracy bad?" And it's just a bit like, it's like straight into it. It's a bit like, if he knew that, I probably would change it and do something different. So it was a bit a crazy question, but on vice versa, like I feel like Caleb Williams has stepped up this year, and his escapability is getting better and better each week. Some of the things he can escape from, where it feels like he shouldn't be able to do that, but he's just incredible. Some of the stuff they're stepping at there, what he's able to do, and just that's the whole culture where week one, where they lost the Vikings, where you were like, oh, is this the Chicago of old where they're losing games they shouldn't do? They've like switched that with, they've got a great running game with like a 2-head monster, and Caleb Williams is like problem solving. He's actually winning games, and it sets it up for a great end, because they've got the Steelers coming up, which I think is a big game. Like you said, they've got Eagles, Packers, then they got Browns, they got Packers, 49ers, Lions. So that's like 3, 5, 6, like where they're like it's going to be big games for them, and where if they are, like you said, serious contenders, the win 3 out of 6 of them. To at least that show that.
I just have the worry for them that when they start playing, because they're going to have a lot of primetime games at the back end of the season. My worry for them is that they are just going to shit the bed in primetime more than once. And then once the noise comes, you don't get a lot of time in Chicago. So don't match what could be promising a really, really good season ends up just being a bit of a flat finish because, but the gateway's open. The gateway's been completed for the Bears. They had to win that game against the Cowboys in week 3. Otherwise, it was a disaster. They have, and then they've won, 6 of the next 7. So, fair play. Do you want to see, just again, Joe, you want to just share this clip? Justin Jefferson clearly is getting very frustrated with how things are going from a Vikings basis. We've just got this clip.
I just love how he's like, just wants to slam it down so many different, like, he's kept his cool, but he just wants to throw it at someone. And then it's just at the table at the end. I would give it up to him though. Like I think with the running play where Mason got the touchdown, he blocked it. He was a monster in that blocking, and he celebrated. So you're like, okay, he's still in there, but he's wanting these stats like JSN, like these players, because he is that kind of standard. And when he was doing that with Sam Darnold, and you're hoping the new kids coming in that you're going to continue that. We always said Jefferson was a no bad quarterback could be with him, but clearly it is not working all around. There were some big drops as well. I know Addison dropped a few big time ones, and it's just it just feels like organization. Like you thought they were onto something. Now I'm not quite sure what the process is going to be. If it continues like this, and you go into next year with, you're probably going to have to stick with JJ McCarthy next year. And if he's just the quarterback we think he is, then it's not looking great.
So ultimately, also Kevin O'Connell set a bar far too high for himself with the work that he's done with other quarterbacks. So excellent. Yeah, Bears 7-3, Vikings, as you mentioned, down to 4-6 and probably done. Cool. Let's move into our overreactions and let's start rifling through these a bit quickly. I've taken your 49ers, Joe, as the overreaction this week. 49ers 41, Cardinals 22. Can't stop the Brock. CMC or Kittle, with injury woes easing, are the pieces falling into play for a deep postseason run for San Fran? Comfy win despite Brissett's record efforts. How do you feel about giving up the most regular season game completions to Jacoby Brissett? 47 completed passes from Jacoby Brissett.
That's why I was going to say, could they do a deep postseason run? My answer was going to say no, because Brissett, like you said, had 452 yards, and then they stopped the run game. They only got 36 yards, but 452. Michael Wilson, another fancy game day shout out. We had 50. He had 18 targets. He had 15 receptions for 185. Trey McBride again, 115 yards. Oh, about Wilson, he might be the fancy leader without scoring a touchdown, which
is incredible.
Which is
30 points.
But the 49ers, the game itself, the 49ers just took the ball away when they needed to do. Obviously, starting off the game with going down to the 1 yard line to the Cardinals, a great way to start, and then they force a punt and score another touchdown. Don't like how they've missed 2 extra points, but hey ho, you can't complain when you win 41-22. And they just like the interceptions just before halftime, and then they got a fumble and interception both like in the red zone. One was on the 27-yard line, and the fumble was on. It was on the 1 yard line again. It was 3rd and goal. On the 49ers 1 yard line and recovered. So when you just do that kind of play, because when you look at like some of the team stats are crazy. When you look how good what the Cardinals put up, they had the ball 10 more minutes than the 49ers. Like I said, nearly 200 more total yards than them. But the Cardinals just gave away too many big plays, and when you have 17 penalties, 130 yards in the first 3 quarters, and you're not going to win games. And I thought the 49ers just did what they had to do. Brock had a good game, 200 passing yards. He got away with 1 or 2 passes, but certainly at the beginning. But I think it's just what he does at the line of scrimmage. There's a few times where he changed things, which that's why I think he's the better suited than Mac Jones, that he was able to change a few things, especially like the McCaffrey, one of his touchdowns when he passed it to him. And George Kittle looked like his old self. So he was obviously positive looking that way, and a must win. It was a great win to go 7-4, and just looking at what their schedule is going forward, it's fairly fairly soft. So I'm fairly confident in the playoffs. I just worry about the defense still. It's just they haven't got them star players to like stop a Rams kind of.
A Rams already good. Yeah, that's fair. But I don't know. I was just some excitement seeing all kind of the players back from injury. And yeah, again, it's keeping them fit the rest of the way. And look, there'll be a match, with Purdy, McCaffrey, Kittle. There'll be a match for anybody in the playoffs, I think, ultimately. And, they can score and put up big points and put up big points quickly. And that's why I think actually that they, those three are so key. They can go toe-to-toe with anybody. And, whether it's in as division champions, I'm not sure. But they're going to be a tough out in the playoffs. And I think if they get in the playoffs, Joe, they're going to get to the championship game at least.
Of course, yeah.
That's just what happens. They either miss out completely or get to the conference championship game. They're going to get, like I say, I can see them going winning, picking up a couple of road wins if they need to. And again, could that offense get better? Will we see Ayuk later on in the year? Could he come back for the last month or so? I don't know. Like, obviously, his knee was completely destroyed. But, stuff like that. Pearsall came back. I know he didn't really do anything in this game, but, he's got the opportunity to get fit as well. And, yeah.
I'm liking Brian Robinson's looking. He's looking really good where, I think McCaffrey's on for the record of number of touches like within like this many weeks because he's just constantly giving it to him in the past game winning game. But Brian Robinson's looking a lot better, and when you just look at the schedule, obviously the Panthers are a lot better than we expected, but still you expect them to be the Panthers. They've got the Browns and the Titans, so you expect 3 wins there. That gets you to 10, and then you finish off with Colts, Bears, Seahawks, which I don't think they should expect at least win 1 or 2 of them. So you get to like 11 and get a solid position, but. On the flip side, any worry about the Cardinals, where I felt like they were losing a lot of games by a couple of points, but the last few weeks after that Dallas wins, they've been blown out, especially when it's against your division rivals, where you concede 44 against Seahawks and 41 against 49ers, where this team feels like it was built on defense, and you brought Jacoby Brissett in to be like, let's win these tight games where we're losing by 2 or 3 points, and it's gone the reverse where they're getting blown out against teams in division. I think that's the most worrying. It's if your division where it's clearly these 3 teams are good, and you're the odd one team out, and you're getting blown out by them. That's just my only worry. That I think they'll keep Gannon, but it makes it.
I do too. Otherwise, I think because otherwise they won't. I don't think Kyler would be benched if Gannon there was any risk of Gannon going. I don't think I think so. They're making the choice. It's Gannon, and we're going to get rid of Kyler. I think is the path of the Cardinals are going down. Yeah, and just Jacoby Brissett throwing the ball 57 times a game is not a recipe for success. As fun as it was, and shout out, I did not, in that pop quiz, that trivia question, who holds the record for most completions in a regular season game? Is it Peyton or Drew Brees or Brady or Rodgers? No, it's Jacoby Brissett. Unbelievable.
But when you look at their schedule, they've got the Jags, Bucks, Rams, Texans, Falcons, Bengals, Rams. So,
they can win some games,
Yeah, but they also might not win any games. So they could actually be in a decent pick. Are they going to be one of them who takes a chance on one of these quarterbacks coming out?
We shall see. Excellent. Right. 9-7-4, Cardinals 3-7. Next up on our weekly overreaction, Joe, it's you.
Joe should remain in his burrow until next season. Joe Cool Sr. takes the flak as an offense no-shows versus Steelers. Bengals just got spit out of the playoff picture. And Christmas came early in Pittsburgh with Rudolph coming in with Rodgers with a hand injury. Apparently may have broken something, but it's not a long-term. It was his non-throwing hand. I just think Joe Burrow, just don't bother coming back. No offense. It's a bit like after they beat the Steelers 3 weeks ago on Thursday Night Football, you were like, okay, get to 6 wins before Burrow comes back and they'll be in contention. But there's just no point. This team is just putrid, where they've had a number of weeks where the offense have been on fire and the defense has let them down. This game, the defense actually played pretty well when you look at it all together. When you look at what happened, their 14 of the points from the Steelers were defensive on the Steelers side. So they only conceded 20 points against the Steelers team, and this Bengals team have been scoring points like 40 odd, but they just couldn't get going, and it was disappointing. It looked like Chase Brown managed to it was looking good on the run game, but it was more the passing game. Just like mistakes when when they couldn't make it. And then on the flip side, like the defense looked good, but also when they needed to make a stop, they just couldn't at the end.
Yeah.
And like Kenneth Gainwell went off 2 touchdowns in the air, 81 yards, and Washington looked like he was playing against little boys.
Well, should we have a look at that? Darnell Washington. I love Darnell Washington. He's an absolute beast. And from he's more 300 pounds for a tight end. This is absolutely hilarious. It probably just sort of signifies some of the problems that the Bengals have got as well defensively as well. Let's play. This was just before halftime, I think, as well in the game.
Jones the block at the left tackle. The muscular tight end Washington running left shot, bulldozing, plowing. Wow! Catch and run.
I love how
see like just before as well, he did like a hurdle, like probably the biggest man trying to do a hurdle in the middle of the field. So you wouldn't want to be one of the players trying to like tackle him, would you?
I love how the commentary described him as the muscular Washington. Like he's an absolute tank. And it should be more involved. I think they should get him more involved because he's great fun. And clearly very difficult to bring down. But I think that's just a bit of an indictment in terms of what's kind of wrong with the Bengals defense. In terms of just three people. I'm not sure which one's the worst one. But it's the first one. He manages to duck under a second player and then just run straight through the chest of a third. It was
that second player was like, I don't really want to tackle him. I hope I can just like shove him out of bounds. And then I bet the other guy was like, oh, you fucking prick. Which coming charging towards him. And but the Steelers win. Obviously got 6-4. It just feels like the Steelers team, like we've always said, is going to get to 9-8. But again, I wasn't super impressed with them. Rodgers went out, he was 9 for 15. We mentioned Kenneth Gainwell. It feels like they just can't get DK Metcalf going. That's not really clicked. And when you look at who they trade away Pickens, who was doing with the Cowboys, it's looking like, oh, okay, that might not be the best.
I
think
think
they're just going to win these like ugly games where it relies on defense, but the defense has been up and down as well. There's so many they've probably been in our overreaction most weeks where the Steelers are done. Let's forget about them. Then the week after, they're back again, and the 6-4, and it's just a weird team. But it was mainly about the Bengals. Like we heard Joe Burrow might be coming back on Thanksgiving, but they've got terrible offensive line. The defense stinks, so he could score 40 points and still lose. So it's a bit like just get help for next year.
I think,
I'm curious what happens with this. They paid the big wide receivers all that money. They're going to get rid of Hendrickson. I don't know. Is Zach Taylor? It feels like the Bengals don't fire the head coaches, but it just feels like they need a change there. It just feels like
I agree,
organizational. They just after they get to the Super Bowl, that it's just been a big. And when you look at what obviously Lou Anarumo was doing in Indianapolis, and he was made the scapegoat, it's like, can you make who's going to be the next scapegoat? And you give him some credit that he managed to coach up Joe Flacco after trading from the first few weeks. But it's like I said, this game just when the game was close, that killer touchdown interception and then the fumble interception just killed that team. And the Bengals are done. So what's the point bringing Burrows back? And we'll see what the Steelers do.
Big 3 weeks for Steelers. They've got the Bears, the Bills, and the first game against the Ravens the next 3 weeks. It's huge 3 weeks to see where the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to end up.
Yeah, cool. And the Bengals, just on the Bengals, they've got the Patriots, Ravens, Bills, Ravens, the next 4 games. So
they're going to be picking quite high. And of course, Chase suspended for a game.
Of course, yeah.
A disgusting spit in the face of Jalen Ramsey.
I'm pretending he didn't do it.
Pretending he didn't do it, and he's very clear that he did do it. Cameras everywhere. Come on. Right, next up for our overreaction, a team that regularly also features in our overreaction segment. This is Byron's one. Panthers 30, Falcons 27 in overtime. Clean house in A-Town, no match for Youngry Panthers. 0-5 since besting the Bills. Quarterback still a question mark, and no first rounder. A first round pick that's only getting better and better for the Rams. Penix and London potentially missing time. I think Penix is done now for the season. Without a sharp upturn, how can anyone stay in town? I'm still, we're at 11 o'clock UK time when we're recording this on Monday. I'm shocked that Raheem Morris hasn't been fired today. Shocked.
I feel like he's going to keep his job and they're going to get rid of the offensive because it's that whole thing where the defense has actually looked good. And that's his main, his main position. He was brought in to improve this defense, and he's actually looked pretty good as a season as a whole compared to where they've been the previous season. The first 2 rounders are starting to make some noise. James Pierce got a sack and a tackle for loss.
I suppose the issue is he's not a top 5 pick. And that's what you're going to be giving up at this rate.
That's the issue. I think what the biggest issue is, and I think it was James Palmer mentioned on the podcast, where coming into the year, they were super hyped about Penix, like what they thought he could do and how he ended last season. But as this season gone on, they're a bit like, oh, we actually know he can't do these things to make him a top quality quarterback. They thought they hit the jackpot when they drafted him. And that's obviously why they traded away the first round pick next year, because they thought we saw the quarterback. That's done. Let's try and make this defense great. But the problem is, he's dipped. He's having a sophomore slump. Teams know how to attack him. He went 30 for 16, but again, some of the passes are just not right there. And Bijan Robinson went the first half. He was on absolute stormer, and then the third quarter they didn't give him the ball once. And it's just things like that. It's just like, give it to your main man. Like, there's a reason why he's the arguably the best running back in the league, and they just go away from him too much. They bring Tyler Algier in it, like. And then, we talked about it the other day where they just target Mooney way too much compared to Drake London. Obviously, Drake London went off and he got injured in overtime. It seems like it's not a bad injury for Drake London. That it doesn't seem too bad and he could be there next week. But this is just such a frustrating team. Again, the Falcons, where you look at that roster, you look at the star players and you're like, this team should be good. This team should be 6-5. When they beat the Bills, and I was like, oh, these could challenge the Buccaneers. And they've just gone like downhill from there. You look at some of the games they've had where they should be losing these games, and we talk about the Bears managed to like flip it where their organization, but they lost to the 49ers fairly like 2010. They lost to the Dolphins 34-10. I think that was a disgraceful loss. They just lost to the Patriots, to the Colts, and to the Panthers, where it feels like it's more organizational, where they're just not winning these close games. And is that a new head coach sorts that or whatnot? But I think the biggest issue they have is that quarterback, where they thought they had a top 12 kind of quarterback, even top 15, where he may not win all these games. He's not going to be a Josh Allen, but he's not going to lose your games, and he's going to be big players at certain times, which he did. Well, last year they didn't win, but he looked good. But I think teams have like figured him out.
Yeah,
I also think that offensive scheme is terrible as well. They need to get Robinson out of there, and so I think he'll keep his job this year because they love him. But Arthur Blank's not the youngest owner. He wants this Falcons team to look good, and does he stick with the defense? Because I think everyone loves him in the organization, the head coach Raheem Morris. I think everyone loves who he is and what he brings and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, if he goes, and the only thing they've got the Saints and the Jets the next 2 weeks, if they pick up 2 wins, they're back at 5-7. It's not as bad. If they get to 6-7 wins, where it feels like they've been 7-9 for the last few years, I think he could survive this one more year, and they get rid of Zach Robinson, and that's their excuse. But with more and more of these losses, you've lost badly to the Panthers twice.
Twice.
Yeah,
I don't know how you survive this post, by the way. So this is what the Panthers put up on Twitter after the sweep post. I don't know how you survive that.
Yeah.
Like, surely Arthur Blank's got to see that and be like, I've got to fire him. He's crazy. And I mean, we talked about the things that what they didn't get and what they were crying out for was the pass rush. Well, they got it again. They 5 sacks of Bryce and 10 more quarterback hits, and they still let him throw for 450 yards.
I know. That's what's crazy is that like it felt like with the Panthers, if you stop the run, you should beat this team. And they stopped the run. They only went 67 yards. Dowder was at 2.4 average. But Bryce Young goes absolutely crazy for 448 yards. I think he's going to be one of them quarterbacks where if you just show someone at 1 week, they'll think, oh, he's a star quarterback of the league, and then you show him like someone else the week after, and he's one of the worst quarterbacks of the league. He's just like a selective kind of like, when he plays well, he looks good, but when he plays bad, he looks bad. And I think that's what he's going to be for the rest of his career. But you've got to give him his flowers when he certainly hits it. And T-Mac is actually looking a good quality wide receiver pickup when you look at how he's playing 130 yards, and Xavier Legette looked good, 83 yards. So they've hit on a few of these youngsters, and if they can just maintain it, 6-5, the Panthers, it's crazy when coming into this year. Some of the losses they've had as well. Who did they lose to the other week?
Got to be about Saints last week.
Yeah. So it's just like they're so up and down. They beat the Packers, and they beat like the Cowboys and the Falcons twice, and then they lose to some other like bad teams. But you got to give it to them. But yeah, I'm worried for this Falcons team. When they beat the Bills, I was like, this could be a playoff team. But now it's the biggest. I think the biggest disappointment this year.
Yeah, I'm mad is they're just going to completely implode, and the Rams are going to end up with like 3rd or 4th pick here. Like,
they got QB behind Stafford.
I don't know. You've got the collateral, I guess. You've got the resources to do it, but I don't know. Maybe Doxson's not the year to do it, as we've talked about maybe a few times already. But just go get some really good defensive players and just stack it up. But yeah, craziness. Yeah, Panthers 6-5, half a game behind the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with them to play twice.
Makes it exciting. Makes the NFC actually exciting for once, where it's just like who's going to win it. And
I think it's week 16, week 18. I think I think we're potentially going to get one of those games in prime time. Just imagine if that's the game to finish the season. Carolina, Tampa, Sunday Night Football to win it all. Like those two teams are very rarely on Sunday Night Football. Anyway, cool. Right, let's get into our fourfold. Joe, you did it. Second one of the season. Have you got the tune? Yeah. We got banned from YouTube again, I think.
I don't actually have it ready. I had to delete it before to get all other ones in, but I'll celebrate anyway. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'll add it in post. So yeah, congratulations, second fourfold of the season, and you've taken the lead in the fourfold challenge as well. 2 games clear of Byron now, and I'm a solid 8 games. 10 games, so many games behind. So yeah, 26-18 for you, 24-20 for Byron, 18-24 and 2. It's a mess. I'm still a game behind the guests. But let's run through anyway. Byron had the I had a bad week. I bet on all the road favourites this week, and none of them covered. Ravens -7.5 against the Browns. Obviously, they won by 7. This was a rock fight. It really was. Until kind of the Ravens could kind of prevail in the fourth quarter, scored 13 unanswered and won 23-16. I don't think anything massive to come from apart from Myles Garrett, incredible again. What did he have? 4 sacks? Unbelievable. I think you're right, Joe. I think he's kind of moving himself into that Defensive Player of the Year territory again. He's 15 sacks already.
It's like a Michael Strahan's looking, his record of,
Was it 22.5?
Yeah, that sounds right. 20, something
might
like
be 22 or 22.5. Yeah, he absolutely can. And was it how many tackles for loss? You just mentioned it there 5. As well.
He had 5 tackles for loss in this game. It was just I saw like some of the stat was like the quickest get off. His was like 0.5 now, and the next best was 0.7 in the game, and that was Myles Garrett. So it's just like he's just unstoppable, and sometimes you just feel sorry. He's playing against like Ronnie Stanley sometimes, and Ronnie Stanley just couldn't stop him. Yeah, he's just a beast. He's just like a men against boys sometimes, and when you just watch him, he's just like. I was trying to work out like the greatest player to play on such a putrid team, and Myles Garrett has to be up there because he's just the best. He's the best defensive player. I think now he cemented that this year, and he could be like he arguably could just be the best football player. I think he's getting into that subject. It was just incredible. It must feel like when he's just looking over with Dylan Gabriel, and then Shedeur Sanders comes in, and
the other thing,
the hype didn't quite meet the production, but.
A tough spot to come in, isn't it? Kinda, when he's had so few reps as well, which I think is called out. I've seen a couple of the career backups out on Twitter today, to start saying actually he's barely going to have had any reps the last 10 weeks or 3 months since kind of training camp. So maybe cut some slack. If he's going to start this week, then maybe we can start. But it looked good. He made his first 2 throws, looked fine, and then he was just under the pump. Ended 4 for 16, 47 yards, and a horrible interception where there wasn't a Browns player in sight. But rough going. Defense did its best to keep it in, but Lamar and the Ravens too much. Ravens 5-5. That's 4 in a row. Feels like they're on the march.
Yeah. It is crazy. They were 16-10 down going into the fourth quarter. They took them a few field goals, and they didn't look the greatest. But I always feel like the AFC North when they play each other, it's always a funky games where they're just neither ball. But they've got some big games coming up. I think against not great defenses. So you expect Lamar after coming back from injury to they've got the Jets and Bengals coming up. So if he's not looking great against the Bengals, then I might be like, what's happening with Lamar? After that injury, but. yeah, I expect them to go on a run now. And, they've got Jets, Bengals twice, Steelers, Patriots, Packers, Steelers. So, yeah, Bengals twice, Steelers twice, and then Patriots and Packers and Jets. So, some tough games. But if they want to get to that number one in the AFC North, they go win these kind of games. But they're looking, I think they'll win the division as well, just because they're a little bit stronger team. The defense looks a lot better. I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're going to have enough to topple the Steelers. Cool. Under in Chargers, Jaguars, which hit. By God, what the LA Chargers doing?
Well, I don't know if you saw. Who did they bring in now on trade? Penning, and he got benched halfway through this game.
Yeah,
and he was like left tackle. He didn't even play last week. I didn't realize that against the Steelers. Like we thought, it's looking good. He didn't even play, and they played in this game. And Hines Allen, shout out, he's got the most sacks for the Jags already. Same with Andrews, he's got the most receiving yards as well from the Ravens. But the Jags just dominated. And how Byron? So it was 41 points. It was 35-6 to the Chargers. Trey Lance was in at the start of the fourth quarter, and the Jags took it all the way down. They could have easily scored a field goal at the end to just go on the over. So Byron's lucky not to go 0-4 this week, just because when Trey Lance is in there, then it's looking good. But it's a huge root for these Chargers because Herbert was just getting destroyed. Started playing hero ball like he does, and I don't think he really likes playing in Jacksonville after the last two games. Well,
of course, playoff game, wasn't it? Yeah.
I think they've outscored them 60 to 9 or something crazy like that, and he's thrown plenty of interceptions.
You just don't see this kind of capitulation from a Jim Harbaugh team. I think that's probably what's the most worrying. They were just every aspect of the game. They were fairly terrible. Real bad day at the office. The Jags needed it. At 6-4, they're not dead. I'd sort of call them dead a couple of weeks ago. I guess kind of having just one win would kind of start moving in the right direction. But kind of Tootin and ETN, the 1-2 punch, and I was
gonna say that it was a running game. I still have doubts about Trevor Lawrence, who only got 153 yards, one TD, one shocking interception, and he still worries me that he's just going to let teams who are actually competent in a lot of games. I feel like he's always a reason why they should be ahead a lot more, and he just brings other teams back. And I was worried about Trevor Lawrence, but they won 35-6, and they kept him in a bit too long. I was a bit, come on, Liam Cohen, get Trevor out if you don't want to get injured. He had a few hits near the end, but the running games were incredible. And that was the biggest disappointment with the Chargers, that they just were missing it just seemed like an off game. I wonder if traveling to the East Coast, playing at 10 a.m. and just a few things just weren't quite right, and just missing tackles and all that kind of stuff. And the offense is a huge worry, that offensive line. It's if they play anyone decent.
He benched Becton as well at the start of the second half.
Mm-hmm. So
not looking good. So that's kind of 4 key. I don't think it's a mess for Chargers. I don't know if you can't get any stability on that whole line. I just don't know how you can move forward. But you've got 7 wins on the board. They're going to be in the mix to surely get a playoff spot. I wonder if there's going to be a disaster come playoff time. Cool. So that was Byron's one hit of the week. He had the over in Seahawks Rams, which didn't hit, which we discussed about, and he had the Bucks as 5.5 point underdogs, which sadly did not hit. I had the Bears as my underdog, which was the Bears one outright. I had under in Packers Giants. Still not looking good for the Packers, is it? You kind of were thinking, is this? I kind of thought the Giants would at least cover. I really thought they'd win the game. They weren't a million miles away from doing so, to be honest. The Packers just can't get kind of a momentum win. If they just come here and spank the Giants, it wouldn't have obviously solved any of their problems, but it had just got them rolling. Maybe just got them rolling a bit. But they just don't seem to be able to do anything without it being extremely difficult.
Yeah, obviously Josh Jacobs going out in the first half, that certainly doesn't help when you're missing your main running back. I think he injured his knee. He went back in and then came back out just before halftime. And see how serious that is, because they don't have the same team with Emmanuel Wilson. I thought John Love actually played pretty well. He had some really good throws. Some of the drops from the wide receivers were absolutely killed him quite a lot. Romeo Dobbs, I know he led them, but he had 2 or 3 drops where it was like straight into the bucket where he should be catching it all day long. And I think that's just stalled them massively. And yeah, it felt like Jordan Love. There was a few times where he could have just dumped it off, but he went for the hero ball, is what Jordan Love does. And Christian Watson, round of applause, because he had 2 amazing catches, TDs. And funnily enough, Malik Willis looked awesome when he came in at running back. Just what they were doing in the running scheme, he had a big run and got a touchdown, throwing it to Watson as well. So I think they just needed that win. Obviously, they're playing against Winston, who it felt like a kind of Winston game where obviously he got his touchdown, and he played well. He had a few throws what should have been intercepted, and then the one what got intercepted, I think they're blaming that on Jalen Hyatt. And apparently, they were saying like that's why he doesn't play, because he just gave up on a route, and that was his fault. But Winston could have had a few interceptions elsewhere, so.
Well, that's all part of the Jameis Winston experience. Like,
that's why I was shocked. That's why shocked you went on the under for the for Winston game. But
I wasn't far away, was it ultimately? But it wasn't kind of the cake crazy. He had the one interception, didn't he? So usually maybe more. And I think he lost a fumble as well. But yeah, it wasn't the full Jameis. He's probably got nobody to throw it to. Like, if it has neighbour, if that's the Giants with neighbours, Jameis Winston, that's a different story. But sadly not. But yeah, I just might as well stick with him the rest of the way now. I might get some fun Giants games. Cool. I had the Texans as so disappointing. Texans are 6.5 point favourites. 16-13, made an absolute meal of it, got the job done. It wasn't pretty. Took kind of the fourth quarter as time was running out sort of drive. 48 drive to win it. After kind of the Titans tied it at 13 all with a touchdown. Cam Ward to Van Jefferson, but not impressive at all. And I guess maybe it doesn't need to be for the Texans at the minute, does it? It's just maybe just kind of keep finding ways to win. I shouted Davis Mills out for Fantasy Gameday. He had a pretty good day, really, given that. And I sort of said stack him with Nico Collins, and Collins had 9 for 92 and a touchdown. So pretty all right day if you're going on the cheap end. But yeah, again, it's I suppose defense just keeping it low scoring. Just back to 500 and certainly a threat to make the playoffs again.
Yeah, I think you just need to keep Davis Mills in. All he does is win. It seems like.
All he does is win.
Yeah, but yeah, it was. I was watching this game because I had the under, and it was of I'm glad it didn't go to overtime. It was that kind of game. We talked about the Seattle Rams being a defensive show, and it was an exciting. This one wasn't. And I was more probably impressed with the Titans' defense. They got 4 sacks and 8 tackles for loss, and 9 passes defended, and 8 QB hits, like better than what the Texans got. They actually were really impressive, but just little things. And like I said, Davis Mills just driving it at the end, and the Texans get to halfway, and when you've got your 2 pass rushers, I think when you look at their pressures of Hunter and Anderson, it's like they've got like 60-70 just between them. They're actually forced to deal with, and they've got some big games coming up, which if they get Stroud back, and they just need to eke some wins to sneak into that playoff contention.
Well, we'll talk about them at the end because they're Thursday night football this week. Push on the over so I bet the Ravens and minus 7.5, and obviously they won by 7, and then I over for my fourfold, which they pushed. So fuck you, Baltimore Ravens. Over 39 was push. Joe, your successful fourfold was over in Bucks Bills, which we already talked about. San Francisco 49ers -3. Seahawks +3, and the under in Texans Titans, which we just talked about. So congratulations again, our second fourfold of the season, and your second fourfold to all that you've hit so far. 12-1 winner. All we do is give out winners. And then the Bucks guys, so I guess they went 1-2-1. Push to start, never good. Never good when the fourfold's dead before the episode has aired, which is the problem with Thursday night football. But the call was right, I suppose. Alex was saying they'd be very confident the Patriots would beat the Jets comfortably. They did. It was just sadly a push. It closed at -12.5 as well. So if you're a bit later on it, you'd have got the Patriots -12.5 and a cover. But Patriots 13. So that's 8 in a row. 8 in a row for the Patriots. 9-2. Looking good. It wasn't pretty, I guess, at times. But Trayvon Henderson, he seems to finally now. That's another 3 touchdowns off the back of his breakout game the week before. And yeah, Justin Fields benched again for the Jets. That's not what the point of this is, really.
Yeah, I was actually like, how the Jets started. Obviously, got a touchdown in the first drive. I was like, oh, this Jets team. And I thought in general, I think the team played well. It's just some of the play where, you're losing by 13 and they take 4 minutes 39 to get down and not score. But it's just like you could see them like going like, hurry up, like we haven't got time. And it's just like they're taking the time. And just I think the experiment of Justin Fields is done. I think he's going to be a career backup going forward, just because it's just these little things where it's just not smart enough as a quarterback. And you only can, and when we talk about like his past, how many yards he gets like each games, it's like I think he's probably all on his own in the top 5. Just how many like passing yards again? He got 116 this time, which is good for Justin Fields, which I think says it all when he gets over
15 completions as well. It's hard to do that. It's hard to only get 116 yards on 15 completions. Anyway, Drake made another good night, 25 of 34, 281 and a touchdown. I think we're down to May and Stafford now. Is that where we're at for MVP? Kind of feel May, Stafford and Jonathan Taylor. I think that's kind of where we're at this point.
I always feel like the last 4 or 5 weeks makes a lot of difference. If someone goes on a hot run who played well, then they could sneak it. But I think right now, that's where it's at.
So they were free. Cool. Alex also took the Broncos plus 3.5, which we've just talked about. We also took the over in Lions Eagles. I also bet on that. What a disappointment this was of a game.
Yeah, I think in the preview I said that I thought this was going to be a low scoring kind of Eagles horrible like game, primetime game. I think defense were on top. I thought, I think when you look at the Eagles, I think what's the most frightening now is they've had a tough schedule the last few weeks and they've won every game. So they're 8-2, and then when you look at their schedule coming up, so who've they beat? They beat the Vikings, Giants, Packers, Lions, and they got the Cowboys next. And they end with Bears, Chargers, Raiders, Commanders, Bills, Commanders. So you expect them to win 4 or 5 of them games. So they're probably going to be the number 1 seed. I think that defense is walking up and looked really impressive against the Lions team, which is still, if they feel like a very up and down team where one week I'm like, okay, this is the best team in the NFC. No one can stop this offense. And then they have games like this where it felt like they gave up a bit at the end where Goff playing outside in the cold and all that. I think the only thing was like Gibbs was incredible and everyone else wasn't. Like when they gave it to Gibbs, I think he got over 100 yards all purpose.
100 yards
he got
100. 5 for 107. 5 for 107.
So they couldn't stop him, but it just wasn't good enough when as a team where just too many mistakes, too like interceptions and all that kind of stuff. And the Eagles just doing enough to win. I think they've got that formula where they're not looking impressive, especially on offense, but just winning these big games, and that's all you need to do, really.
Yeah, the trick. Jalen Phillips has given him a boost already, just in 2 games, like making big difference on the line already. Just after he had a sack and 2 quarterback hits as well, and making a big difference. And Byron Shout was right. Greased the squeaky wheel, and they went to AJ Brown. That wasn't for a lot of yards. They certainly targeted him a lot more. They had 11 targets, 7 receptions. I think he hit a prop bet, didn't he, on AJ Brown? So I think it's just tough. I think it's so important for the Eagles to get that number 1 seed, because if the playoffs couldn't roll through Philly, I just don't see anybody going to Philadelphia and beating them. No matter how good they are, I just can't see anybody going to beat them in Philly. And I know the Broncos did it, but they're in the AFC. Doesn't matter the NFC playoffs. Lions 64. I'm not Lions. I think the Lions are just a very good team. I don't think they're a great. I don't think this 2025 Lions are a great team. I think they're just a very good team. I just don't think they've got. Again, if they have to go to Philly again in January, I just can't see them going and winning. Maybe the Rams are better than them. Maybe the Seahawks too. But actually they're a good team. Not a great one this year. But what do we do, Joe, when the Lions lose? What do we do the next week?
Put lots of money on them to cover plus 13 points, Medefla. Double them.
Yeah, absolutely. Hammering. They got the Giants next week in Detroit, so they're going to hammer the Giants next week. Jameis factor does not count there. I think they're 10.5 point favourites, so they're winning by at least 20. Hammer the Lions minus 10.5. Maybe alt spread it, but hammer the Lions minus 10.5 next week. Always bounce back after a regular season loss under Dan Campbell. Oh, they've got a good record in doing so since they've been actually good. Cool. And then under in Panthers, Falcons, which also didn't hit. So, 19, 23, and 2 for the guests so far. Let's have a look at our ATS. We've only got one game to actually talk about. We'll do a quick roundup of our ATS picks. Push on Thursday Night Football, so none of us got it. A rare two games pushing of a week. So, bad weeks for us all. Terrible weeks for you, just slightly less worse for me. You two, 3, 9, and 2 ATS. It was a bad one. All the road favourites, a lot of road favourites, and none of them covered this week. 5, 7, and 2 for me. So even in my worst, I think it's my worst week of the season, still got 2 games. Still got a 2-game increase in the lead on you guys. So I'm 11 clear, 86, 71, and 5. Byron 75 wins. Joe, so you're 21 games behind. Joe, what's going on?
Focusing too much on the fourfold. I think that's what it is. All my eggs in one basket.
Which is the one you do need to focus
exactly,
on. Really. That's the only one with a forfeit. So
yeah.
Which is coming for me very quickly. Push on Thursday Night Football. The only game we haven't talked about, Dolphins Commanders. Madrid got a stinker for their first game. It's a bit of an initiation, I think. First game tends to be a bit of a stinker in a new country. But yeah, the Santiago Bernabeu didn't really get the level of play that it's used to seeing the Grand Old Stadium. I just really, the way it was going, the Commanders kind of blew. I think the Commanders blew it really. I feel like a couple of opportunities to get this game won, and just didn't. And the Dolphins behind Devon A-Chain really just got it done. I think 160 yards. I think you hit your prop bet on A-Chain, Joe. But yeah, that was kind of it. He's probably the only highlight. And Debo had a good touchdown, the first touchdown in Spain. That was it, I think. I don't know. Is there anything else I've missed on this game?
Not really. I feel like Mario played all right. But his interception, obviously, T just curled it. And
a huge run, didn't he, as well?
Yeah, I think we mentioned in the preview that now this Dolphins team 4-7 with their schedule, the next 4 games. I feel like they're going to slip up somewhere just because it's the Dolphins. But Saints, Jets, Steelers, Bengals, it's not.
I don't know. I think your audio's just cut out. But your point being that schedule, I don't know if they can get possibly to. What's if they win another 3? Could they get to 7-7 with 3 games to go and go, well, obviously it's a big run to ask given what we've seen of them and how bad they've been at times this year. But I think it's certainly enough at a minimum for Mike McDaniel to try and save his job. We were all certain, and we have been for months, that he's going to get the fight. He's going to get fired sooner rather than later. But back-to-back wins, 3 of the last 4, as you say. So Saints, Dolphins. What's that? 5-7, 6-7 against the Jets. 7 and you've got Steelers. I don't know. Maybe let's say they lose that one. So 8. So could they get to 7-8 with 2 games to go, and win 2 to maybe sneak in the back door? I don't know. I feel like they're probably going to have to run the table to get in for sure, 10-7. But Mike McDaniel can, at the very least, save his job. We do an age joke because I don't know if I can fly much longer talking about Mike McDaniel. Headphones down. All right, we'll keep going. Don't worry. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe they can. But certainly Mike McDaniel can maybe do enough to convince the Dolphins to give him another season. Whereas it's just kind of all gone wrong for the Commanders. Commanders 3-8. It's a mess. It's just draft pick now, I think. And maybe they move too quick. Sometimes maybe they ran, but maybe they tried to run before they could walk. The Washington Commanders against the NFC Championship game last year. Convinced themselves they completed a rebuild in a year that actually needed a lot more work. And that's where I feel they are. I'd just be interested to see if Dan Quinn is going to be the one to stick around or not. Because they obviously has got quite bad defense, played a lot better. Didn't break that record. They were potentially on for the first time since the 60s for team to lose 5 straight by 21 or more points. But not good for the Commanders. 3-8, crazy to think they were less than 12 months in the NFC Championship game. Cool, right? I've talked enough on my own for that. But yeah, Joe and Byron had the Dolphins anyway. I was just flying solo on the Panthers to cover the one outright. I had the Bills to cover. All of us were on the Texans, and obviously not not close to covering. Me and Byron were on Dabers. A push for Packers Giants, which was our second push of the week. All of us are on the Bengals at plus 5.5, and the Steelers obviously won convincingly. All of us were on the Chargers. That's the worst pick of the season for us all being on. I think it will be numerically in terms of points lost in a game. Just you, Joe, on the Seahawks, even though they lost. All of us on the Niners, all of us on the Ravens, who didn't cover but won. Just me on the Broncos, and all of us were on the Detroit Lions. 1-5 we were on the all of us on the same side this week, Joe. That's terrible. We should know. We should know better. Bad sign when we're all on the Cowboys as well. Monday Night Football. Surely not. Surely the Cowboys pull through for us. But those were our ATS picks for week 11. Joe, have we got you back?
I think so. Can you hear me?
Yay! Thank God for that. That's the worst 2 or 3 minutes in good teams when great teams cover history there. I mean, that was the worst bit of audio since I was doing the episodes on my own to begin with. That's how bad that 2.5 minutes or 3 minutes was. All those many episodes ago, nearly 200 episodes, because I think we're pretty close to episode 200. A couple of bits then, just our bet roundup of the week. I want to say it's 13 winners, but I'm doing this just on the list as we go. So Joe, you might want to count these for me. We'll start with yours, Joe. So you mentioned a couple of them, but you had Devon A-Chain 150 plus receiving and rush yards in the Madrid game at 11-5. Ty Johnson, 2+ receptions and 20+ receiving yards at 5-1. Obviously, he scored that big touchdown. 5-1 winner there. That's excellent. J-Mo Williams on Sunday Night Football, 60+ receiving yards and a touchdown at 4.5-1 or 9-2 in old money. So 2-1, 5-1, 9-2. 3 great hits there, Joe. Then you also had Bears Vikings under 48.5 and Chiefs Broncos under 45, which I also had as well. So what's that? That's 5 from you. Byron Sean.
Sorry, what's really annoying as well is the second week in a row that my 4 touchdown, I was 1 away again from a 7-1, just like Keaton Mitchell.
Yes, you had T. Higgins, Bijan, Kittle, and Keaton Mitchell for 70-1, and just missed on Keaton Mitchell. So that was 5 from you. Byron gave us 2 winners. Sean Tucker anytime touchdown scorer at 2-1. He got 3 of them. And AJ Brown 6+ receptions at just over 2-1 as well, 21-10. So that is 7 winners. And then I gave you 49ers Cardinals over 48.5. That's 8. Under 45 Chiefs Broncos 9. Over 47.5 Buck Bills 10. Under 47.5 in Madrid game 11. And I gave you 2 on Thursday Night Football under 43. And Matt Collins 2-leg prop over 3.5 receptions and over 39.5 yards at 2-1. So some big hits there as well. 5 plus your 4-folds. That's 14 winning bets actually so far, heading into Monday Night Football, where we're potentially going to have some more winners as well. So again, that seems to be where we're at, about kind of somewhat 13, 15 winners every single week. I think it's pretty good going. And again, this isn't a tipster show. There is also no paywall, just your time. Good teams win. It pays to listen to good teams win, great teams cover is the line. It really does. There's also a lot of bets. You have to pick your right ones, but there's a lot of winners there every week to be had. Like I say, I think it's been a minimum 13 every week for the past 6 to 7 weeks. Who else is doing that? I don't know. Probably someone. Right, let's have a look at the Fantasy Gameday winning lineup. Complete domination from the winner this week. This is from the M-Sim. I don't know what the username is, but the M-Sim. 239 points, call it 240. 40 points clear of the person finishing second. So complete domination. It was a relatively low scoring week across the board, apart from this team. CMC is captain for 70 points. Josh Allen for 43. Aaron Jones only got 11. Vidal was a bust at 3. He was my recommendation. So bad recommendation. Joe, one of your recommendations, Michael Wilson, hit. Another one of your recommendations, Sean Tucker, hit for 34. Christian Watson with 20 and Kittle with 24.7. Just, great team selection. quite an odd mix of players. Like, if you'd have shown me that on Sunday, I'd have been like, there's no chance this is winning.
Yeah, it helps with the captain and QB going off. And then the cheap, we talked about Wilson and Tucker who were like 2,000, 3,000. Well, the way hitting as well. So you can afford like the Vidal, like you mentioned, there was a lot of people high on him. And Kittle was on crazy price as well this week compared to the tight ends. So it certainly helps getting them back and hitting 240 points.
Yeah, I texted me earlier to see if it was like a record winning margin. So I guess we'll find out. But yeah, crazy how far this team was had. So make sure you go join him, Fantasy Gameday, the UK's best NFL daily fantasy platform. Go download it now. Use promo code COVER. You'll receive a free entry after your first play. New games being added as well, the Triple Crown game. So you just pick one of 3 quarterbacks, one of 3 running backs, one of 3 wide receivers. And if you get the combination of the top 3, you win yourself a cash prize. I think it's £2 entry for that one. Cheap ways to enter. There's also the big £25 entry lineups if you want as well. So if you're a big baller, but yeah, huge opportunities to win some cash at Fantasy Game Day. Go play now. Got to be 18 years or over, UK only, and of course, please gamble responsibly. Last thing, Joe, and we said we're only going to be an hour. It's an hour and a half. Thursday Night Football, TNF on Prime. It's the Buffalo Bills. The line's already moved. It's moved while we've been talking. So it was 4.5. It's now 5.5. Bills 5.5 point favourites at the Houston Texans. Over under is still 43.5. What do we think of this one? So I suppose not knowing for sure who's going to be playing quarterback for the Texans is potentially a bit of an issue for this one. But what's your initial thoughts, Joe?
Yeah, at 5.5, I'm probably going to go Texans just because that defense is probably the one defense in the league, maybe along with Broncos, where you know what you're getting from them, and they're going to shut down. And the Bills are so, like we mentioned, up and down, and they're going to just, going to be one of them games where they just can't score and they, have a bit of a stinker on offense against such a good defense. So I think it's going to be a low score. I'll probably go under 43.5 and Texans plus 5.5. I just don't see the Bills offense isn't incredible to break down this Texans defense. So I just think it's going to be close. And to be honest, I don't think he cares. I don't really care which Texans QB's in. I think they're probably going to score in the teens, and Buffalo might sneak it, but only win by like 2 or 3.
Yeah, I agree. I think close. I like the Texans. Probably lean Texans ATS, but I'm probably going to bet the under. I also didn't read the great headline that I wrote as well. So Alan looks to crack Houston's code. We will see if he can come Thursday night. Right, that's week 11 in the books. We're just hurtling towards the end of the regular season. It's making me so sad. We're back with a fantastic, bonus episode this week coming out Wednesday. So tomorrow, I sit down with the CEO and chairman of the Union Jack Classic college football game coming to London, Wembley Stadium. We've got 2 great Big 12 teams, the Arizona State Sun Devils and the Kansas Jayhawks playing at Wembley Stadium. Hopefully I'll get a big sellout for that. But I get to interview one of the main guys in making it happen, Brian Dubisky, CEO and chairman. So check that out. That's dropping on Wednesday. There'll be loads of clips. Please watch it and share it and show some love for the Union Jack Classic. So that's coming to you tomorrow, and we'll be back with our review on Friday.